very much. And I guess we've been sort of going back and forth between doing this as an office hours type thing where we just look at your networks. And we can still do that because we have three of you. But I don't know if you have seen the previous presentations that that CT and I made on this topic, and would need a general introduction. Actually, you all can unmute yourself because it's not meant to be me speaking all the time. You're very welcome to interrupt at any point. Okay. So I guess I will just start with slides, but we'll try to run very quickly through that. And then we will look at those networks that, or those network data that we got from you, or those that we can create with you. We've been sort of very happy to work with, well, we've been very happy to work with several projects who send us the data, and this is for us an opportunity to learn about what you do and also to improve the software. Because what we need is to get your feedback about what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Network analysis is not something that comes intuitively, and that's why we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So we use that system in our AccelNet project called Transboundary Groundwater Resilience. These projects, well, I guess I'll skip what it's about, but it deals with groundwater depletion around the world. So the idea is to connect people who work on this topic in multiple countries. And we started going about that by talking to people whom we know. That the initial grant we had was a design phase, so very little money, and we talked to everybody whom we knew, set up a system online that allowed them to register themselves to a network. So it's essentially a questionnaire where they can submit their picture, where they can specify what interests them. And we got about a couple dozen entries, which was certainly not enough because asking people to put their name in yet another network form, online form, and for unknown reasons is not very productive. So what we decided to do then was to figure out if we can find everybody in the world who ever mentioned transboundary groundwater in their publications and see how they're connected with each other and if we can make sense of those connections. So we took a fairly new bibliographic source. You may have heard of OpenAlex. If you've been to our previous presentations, you've certainly heard of that. It started a couple years ago, and it is open source. There are no restrictions on use. Mostly you access this through API because the user interface is more or less non-existent, but it indexes a very large collection of publications. It's on par with Google Scholar and is much larger than things like Web of Science, Dimensions, Crossref, and so on. In fact, it incorporates quite a few other collections as well. And we've seen that institutions around the world started to switch to OpenAlex for their bibliographic work. In many cases, Web of Science was sort of a requirement for allocating funds to libraries and to different research areas. Now, there's a definite shift to OpenAlex. That was a recent announcement from Sorbonne that abandoned everything else and moved to that system. So I will start with a very small demo about what you can get from this type of network and show you a couple examples. So this is where we have everybody in the world who have published on transboundary groundwater. And for any of these people, we can see where they come from. where who their collaborators are, what keywords they could be tagged with, what publications they have had on this topic, and we can search them by country. In fact, we can just select, let's say, United States, United Kingdom, Germany, look at distribution by countries, look at, let's say, where they are on the map. Well, of course, here I am subsetting to, now I'll show everybody. And most importantly, you can look at it as at these people as a network. And see how authors are connected with authors from other countries on publications, and how these networks actually developed over time, because you can roll it back to, let's say, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and then see how the clusters started to get formed and how those clusters started to involve people from other countries, and how they started to merge together. So this can be done for individual countries. Let's say these are all researchers from the US with their collaborators, and see how that network developed. We can look at everybody who have been looking at, let's say, modeling in the context of transboundary groundwater, and see how that developed over time. You may have noticed there was a solicitation from NSF about working with Ukraine, right? Impress you may have seen that. So that solicitation invited proposals to work with Ukrainian researchers on whatever topic you come up with, plus researchers from Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. What would be a way to look at this group using this system? We first look at the Ukraine researchers. We look at who they are, right? And actually for any of them, we can see if they collaborate with researchers from the countries that are also mentioned in the solicitation. So we can zoom in here. You see that they all represented with their flags. And this appears to be the largest cluster of Ukrainians who work with a person from Poland. So I emailed that Polish lady, and we look at Ukrainian researchers. She knows many of them. Some of them are continuing to do active research, others are actually in the front lines. And then we're trying to see how we can build a network together. So let's bring in additional countries: Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania.
Oh, Ilya, there's a question.
Yes.
Anna?
Yeah, I want to ask how you got this data first.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Because I guess that there will be multi-part answer to that. One is how we got the network data, and the second, how we got the pictures. So I'll answer all of that.
Okay, thanks.
So you see that we have Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Ukraine. When you look at the network, it's actually an interesting network because there are two large clusters all connected through a single guy. And if you look at information for that guy, he has high level of centrality, fairly high level of prestige score. Centrality means, between the centrality means that he has large number of shortest paths that connect individual researchers that go through him. So I asked that Polish lady, and where is she?
Second row.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's her. If she knows that guy, she said, yes, everybody know him. He's very good. You need to connect. And indeed, we connect. And then suddenly you see that like 90% of the network is within reach because you manage to target the right people who are in the center of connections. So that's one example of how it was actually used. There were other examples where we were looking to kind of set up meetings. Let's say we had meetings at the World Water Week and at the Water United Nations Summit. So everybody who are in New York, we were managed to get them through this connection and see which people they're connected with. So if we have some researchers in mind that we want to meet, we will know through whom to go to.
Yep. And the keywords also helped us with that because we wanted people
Right.
from different, because TGR is about connecting people in data, social systems, and water science, not just different water scientists around the world. But
Right.
anyway, we'll talk about
Yeah,
keywords more
by the
later.
way, we will talk about keywords later. By the way, this set of keywords is something that we would expect you to come up with, because this is the way of for you to structure your community and figure out who is working on policy, for example, in this group, or who is working on whatever other things, and on contamination. Anyway, using these keywords, we can tag publications that mention those keywords. And this is how you get authors who have authored these publications. Getting back to the slides. Oh, and by the way, what's that? It was here. Yeah, you can also, I believe I mentioned that you can see them on the map, and you can not only see the locations of researchers, but also you can publish additional layers such as the actual aquifers, right? So we have a map of aquifers, and we can put it up here as well. Yeah, you can look at the list of people, subset them by any country or any other characteristic. And you can also, if you have in mind some additional types of analysis, you can launch Jupyter notebooks on Google Colab or MyBinder.
And I also want to clarify by going through OpenAlex and what Ilya and others at the San Diego Supercomputer Center created, those pins will show up when you upload it into the SuAVE system. So you don't have to worry about making those pins in the map. That was a confusion before.
In fact, the whole process is very simple, and I will show you with Jesse's data of how we can do that. Yeah, so some interesting patterns I showed you. You can look at fragmentation. You can look at how fragmentation plays out by different subtopics. So some research within your area may be really fragmented. Other research may be consolidated to a single cluster. So in that case, we were looking at specifically at new technologies, data science approaches, and turned out that there hasn't been much done on machine learning and AI in our space. So the way for you to use that, you can look at the entire academic landscape, you can look at dynamics, you can see what disciplines are emerging, and you can look at individual network members and see if you have invested in the right people, right? Do their characteristics show enough key player fragmentation index? So basically, if you remove that person from the network, it will become more or less fragmented, right? And as I showed, it's very simple to compute this type of data in the network. For any person that you click on, you will get some measures of centrality, centrality, clustering, and so on. Yeah, so that kind of flashed on the screen. Betweenness, prestige score, centrality, that's for another person. Okay. Any questions about that? So that's basically the type of output that you would expect. Now, how to, yeah, and I can spend some time about talking about how it all got started. So we have a system called SuAVE or SuAVE in Spanish, as I was told, stands for Survey Analysis via Visual Exploration. It really started as a tool for analyzing surveys. It's extremely easy to publish a survey. Will take like 30 seconds, but I'm not going to spend much time on, well, I'm not going to spend much time. If you want me to show that, I'll be happy to, especially if you do surveys as part of your AccelNet. But what I will focus on is how we recently expanded that to network analysis. And I guess I will need to return to this slide, but before that, let's look at the process for generating data. There is a system that we set up called Corpus-DB, and if you have created an account on your SuAVE.net system, you can go to corpusdb.sdsc.edu, enter with that same username, and then you will have two options, whether you to search for data for your network data in OpenAlex or do the curation. Curation is important because none of the bibliographic sources is perfect. If you search for data in Web of Science, if you search for data in dimensions, Crossref, you will end up with multiple nodes for the same person. You will end up with mislabeled publications. You will end up with all sorts of junk. The difference is none of the systems provide a way to do curation, and we do. We have a way to curate network data that is specifically designed for not just for spreadsheets like OpenRefine, but for networks. So let's see, if you want to do search, let's give it a name, and TGR demo will be, doesn't really matter how you call it. Then I define thematic scope, and I will show you how we define that for the TGR network. We say that we're looking for any combinations of words transboundary and groundwater in titles or abstracts of publications. But groundwater can actually be there may be synonyms to that, right? So we say aquifer or aquifers. And transboundary may also have multiple synonyms, and I will paste them in. Like transborder, cross-border, binational, all of that. Okay, and so what I have listed here is a set of terms that we're going to search for in the entire OpenAlex corpus that has about what was that last count? 290 million publications. So then you may want to set up keywords. In our case, we actually had 4 versions of keywords. One set of keywords would come up from the names of the aquifers because we want to know which aquifers people work on. So there would be a very big list here because we got it from international organization that tracks transboundary aquifers. We also want to have some terms that reflect like data and modeling work, and that would be the set of terms that we would paste in here, just as an example. So see, I'm putting in agent-based modeling, for example, and agent-based modeling may have a bunch of synonyms as well that you can find. So how you develop these terms, it's really up to you. You can go to Claude AI, for example, and say, give me keywords that optics, lasers. That's for Jesse, right? It's and related concepts.
And another slower way to do this is when we had our workshops and meetings with people in our network, we asked them what their priorities are, and I read through all of their answers and put things in.
Right, organize them as bullet points. Bullet points, right? Whatever, doesn't matter. So at some point it will give you a list that you might want to just paste in. So it came up with photonics, with quantum optics. It's pretty comprehensive. I'm sure you use this type of LLM tools elsewhere, but if not, you should. Okay, so we were right. So we edit our keywords, then you can exclude publications that happen to be outside of the years that you're interested in. In this case, I don't worry. Specify institutions, and then you click submit. And then the system eventually will give you back a file that you will just plug into SuAVE authoring system. I'm not gonna wait for the result. In fact, I will try to run a different one with terms that came from Jesse.
And another tip is when you're naming your project, you can put the date and the time that you're doing this, because if anything goes wrong, it's easier for us to know the time when we're going through the log. So technically Steve does that, but yeah.
Okay, so I forgot how to type apparently. So let's see. I'm Jesse, and this is the list of folks that we need, right? So if you have an entire list of people with their OpenAlex IDs, that would be very handy. If you just have a list of people without OpenAlex IDs, we are developing a tool that will generate those IDs automatically. So I copied here and paste into a search interface where it allows me to search by those IDs. And if you want, we can actually grab those things that we got here and put them as keywords.
How did you get that list of keywords?
I asked OpenAlex something like, please list keywords that reflect optics, lasers, and related concepts.
Claude AI.
Yeah, Claude AI.
Oh.
You can ask ChatGPT, it will be about the same.
Gotcha.
But this is sort of not a very scientifically accurate way of doing that. You may want to have a committee.
Oh, but those
who will come
are
up
all
with...
very important keywords that I'm seeing. So that actually is pretty good.
Yeah, you know, LLMs are pretty good these days.
Yeah.
So I just plug them in here.
Mm-hmm.
And hope for the better. I haven't run this query before, but okay, so let's see, Jesse. You will also see that there are two options where we can only include those people that you have on the in your list, or we can also include any of their collaborators or any collaborators within institutions. This really, in your case, results in computational explosion. So we have not only these people have each written, I don't know, thousands of papers, but they also have hundreds of collaborators. And so you end up with a file. Well, when I tried to run it, it took several hours. And
Yeah.
let me find, so I have a folder called Jesse here, and the normal search would result in, you know, something like that. And the search with external collaborators is 300 megabytes. So it's not something we can easily analyze.
I
But
broke it.
get. Right. So did I submit? Okay, I need to submit this thing. So I submitted that, and now the query is running. At some point, it will, hopefully rather soon, it will give me a response by email. So I'll get by email, I'll get a file. I did something like that earlier with, oh, okay, now it's done. Okay. So you will get this file. Just copy this access code string, go to Corpus-DB, and paste that in. The file will be downloaded. Let's look at it. It is here. I hate this new color scheme in Windows. It just doesn't let me figure out where things are. Okay, so that's the file we just downloaded, 1232, right? If you see what's inside, it has the entire list of publications that happen to be in scope, the entire list of authors, and the network file. But you don't even need to expand it. Let's go to SuAVE.net. Go to view. And when you create an account on SuAVE, you get a gallery. Initially, it's empty, but here I already have a bunch of surveys, and now I will publish a new one, Jesse demo, then choose a file, which is, I guess, this one, that's from today. Click submit, and that's pretty much all you need to do. So now we have the survey here. We may want to, just to remember what we've done, we may want to copy this to like describe survey so that we remember what we asked for. We may want to, let's say, add a map and a network, add a table, lists, Jupyter, perhaps. If you want to add some additional spatial data, you can plug in my maps here. That's all optional, but basically you're done publishing your survey.
Yeah.
Question?
I have a comment. In this one, I think you should have, I recommend and naming it uncurated, so you know.
Yes, yeah. Also here we have a list of people with their open IDs, so we don't have a problem of merging them, right? But there may still be some issues with curation. All right, so these are people without their external collaborators. We may want to, and you can see where they are in the world. You can look at them in this way, sort them by, I don't know, when they started to be active. So some people started to publish in the 70s and continue going. So if you look at any of these folks, you can see all of their publications.
And I'd like to say this is a new feature. We added this from input from others saying they wanted to see who's an ECR, or this is a proxy.
Yes, so CT refers to when people started to publish. So presumably if they started recently, then they may be early career researchers. But here we have folks with first publication before 2013, so they are quite seasoned researchers here. Anyway, for one of them, I just click on publications, and for any of them, we get click on abstract. So why doesn't it show the abstract? Yeah, we can get to the papers themselves. Should be able to get to the abstract, but for some reason, oh, maybe it's working on something else. Okay, there may be delays, of course, because these data sets are quite large, and obviously we don't have control when you have people who have published, hundreds and thousands of papers, then you would expect some, work not as quickly as, for example, with our TGR, where people don't tend to publish that much.
Yeah. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So the one we were just looking at, the network we were just looking at of my people. So the filters we had, it was like our list of the Open Alex IDs, the author IDs, and then we also added the keywords. But
yes, let's look at the keywords.
This looks like it's just the list of authors. So how is it different from just submitting a request for the list of authors?
These are the keywords. So people who mentioned photonics, people who mentioned pulse.
So it's just filtering within that list of authors then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is easier to see on this screen. So folks who work on lasers.
I see.
Okay, so now nobody is selected, but if you, well, maybe that would be even easier. If you only work with lasers, like this.
I see. Okay, and if we hadn't added all those keywords, we wouldn't, we would have other ways to filter the authors, but just not with keywords. Yeah,
you can filter, those who have highest level of sightedness.
Right, there'd be other things.
Yeah, any of them.
Okay.
Or all of them together, it doesn't matter.
And technically you do have keywords because there's the Open Alex concepts. They have keywords already in there.
Right.
Okay. So if we did just the authors, we would still have some keywords populated in there. Okay.
Yeah. So I have to say that some of it is still, we are actually revamping that system a little bit. Well, I should show you danger under active development. And
Things are probably broken.
yeah, so I mean, it mostly works, but we are, since we are moving actively to a new UI, where you would be able, to have just a single search form that where we can filter based on all of the things, including OpenAlex IDs. So you would plug them here, but you could also specify thematic scope, and you would include countries. Let's say if you want to include the United States or Canada, you will be able to do that. If you want to, say, specify Ohio State University, right? There are actually quite a few in Ohio.
You have to write the Ohio. This was a complaint that I passed along to Steve, and he has too many things already on his plate, so he didn't get to it.
Yeah, Steve is our developer.
Yeah, the Ohio State.
So we are actually thinking that we will move this type of selections into a separate tool where you would be able to come up with OpenAlex IDs for institution based on the names of this institution, in the same way as we have a tool that will come up with OpenAlex author ID based on the list of, on the names of authors. Same for countries. Well, for countries, it's actually easier, but in institutions, there are just too many of them. And of course, some disambiguation is required because that same UCSD may point to more than one thing. Okay. So you get an idea of what you can do and where it is going. You can specify, you can search by thematic scope, you can search by a list of your people in your network, you can add keywords or don't add keywords, it doesn't really matter. In fact, you can add several types of keywords. I will show you an example where we had 4 types of keywords for data and modeling, for any environmental characteristics, for social demographic or social economic aspects of transboundary groundwater, which deal with, let's say, policy, governance, security, and so on. And environmental would deal with things like discharge, recharge, pollution, surface water, water quality, and so on. And data and modeling will list different types of models and different techniques. Another set of keywords is actually studied aquifers, because we would just provide a list of aquifers to the system, and it will be able to tag them. So we have essentially 4 collections, and then we just merge those additional keywords so that we have a single one with that includes everything. Now, in this case, we it's called uncurated because when you look at names and sort this by number of nodes, you will see that some people have more than one node, which means typically that a person has published a research paper or research papers, and also published technical reports where that name may have been or affiliation have been abbreviated, or name has been abbreviated, or something like that. So something in the metadata would make these 2 people distinct, or that they have maybe at one time that person was in India, another time in Australia, and that's how the system recorded their metadata. Or another guy who happened to be, in one case, he is from Latvia. In another case, his country of origin is unknown. Country is unknown. So these are things that we can curate. How we do the curation? Let's grab this guy, and I grab the URL and go back to Corpus-DB. Let's just start a new one. I will get to SuAVE demos. Now, and go to curation. So it knows all the data sets that I have published. So I think we're looking at, what was the name? Let's just remove some of those that I don't need. 4 combined uncurated. So let's search for uncurated. 4 combined uncurated. I will select this survey for curation.
And the reason Ilya uploaded the uncurated one is sometimes it's easier to see things in the visual format versus going directly to this curation, which you could have if you saw the bottom, it said upload the zip file.
Yeah. So that there are 2 ways, by the way, right? So you can just upload a zip file that you got. I'll show it again. Well, don't want to confuse it with different accounts. Maybe in a different browser.
I think they understand Ilya. It's pretty obvious. The bottom part was uploaded zip file.
Yeah, so you can either load the file that you just received from OpenAlex by email, or you can point to an existing survey. It doesn't really matter what you do here, because let's say I can go to CBA. That should be the most recent, and I can, this is my 4 combined, or I can take any individual one and load this here. The effect will be exactly the same as whether you load it directly from a survey, like what we did here, or if we load this. Well, actually, it would be more fun to edit the file that came directly from the directly from SuAVE. So first of all, we see that there is very prolific author called Anonymous, and we can just click on this guy and say delete this row. So this is gone. Then we can say let's remove those who have non-latent characters. Then we want to say let's match duplicate names. This person, the first person, Annie He, has 2 nodes in the network, and we just need to have only one. So let's say that would be the target node to which this, the other information will be merged. The other guy, do you see it, or is it too the font is too small? You can see it. Okay, good. Right. So it doesn't really matter which you merge here too, because all of them have kind of the same names and affiliations. So chances that this would be different people are pretty slim. So I would say select all and then just merge them. As a result, we will have fewer nodes in the system. We started with 335. Now we removed some of them, and then progressed to another set of curation operations. So this guy has been mentioned, and remember, I believe we looked at him because he was mentioned being in Australia and in India, probably in different years. So here we have his publication years to 2022. Here it's also 2022. Who knows? It may be he's been moving back and forth, maybe a postdoc in one place and I don't know, lecture in another place. I have no idea, but that is something that would deserve an investigation if you want to really have a clean network. And you can look at publications of this guy. You can look at where the co-authors overlap. You can see what, it looks like the same guy because it's mid of Brahmaputra River, and here he also works on the same topic. So it sounds like the same guy, plus the name is sort of not the most common. So you will need to decide where you attach him to. I would normally go with the record where he has more publications in scope, so that would be 68.
Oh.
And CT, who really loves doing curation in her spare time, would actually learn a lot more about these people, and well, you can tell about it.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify the merge target. If you can see the curation index on the top left area, that's the number that we're talking about.
Right, that's the number.
It seemed obvious, but I also want to say it in case people. And I actually go by latest publication because it's already there.
23. That's another very good indicator. Not in this case of the second guy, because 2023 is for unknown location, but his name sounds like he's from the Baltics, and actually it's Latvian last name, so I would say record 230 should be the target, because that record will provide all the metadata, and you can specify what are the rules of how these different fields will be merged. So obviously, when you have publication dates, it will combine all the publication dates into the target, into the final record. If you have things like citedness and h-index, it will do some more intelligent computations. If you have things such as affiliation, country, city, region, it will just choose the information from the targets, from the target that you specify.
And Ilya and I went back and forth on this, and it's good if you have someone else you're doing this with. You keep a separate log and type which are the merge targets.
Right.
And such. Because it's going to take a long time, like Jesse's network. If you did the scope wise, I don't know how long this will take you. This takes hours, and our network is much smaller than yours.
Yeah, the good thing, you do it once, and then you end up with a clean network. So let's say we merge those that we have selected. You save results as a file, and now what you get here is actually your file underscore curated, and this is the file that you can publish into your SuAVE system. So I would suggest periodically save these things. Yeah, go ahead.
And sorry, I also should say when you do this, sometimes the merge targets change too. So we should write more about what person you actually picked and why you picked that person. Or not that person, but you know, that node for that person.
Right. Yeah, so here it found non-standard headers because we have those different sets of keywords such as study aquifers. And the instructions is that these should be merged together. You can actually specify other things, but merging for these things is essential. So we saved this guy. We can go to our gallery and say, now we want to add a new survey. I've curated something, and I don't remember what we were doing, but basically you get to this one data set, and that's all you need to do. So ideally, you would do it a few times throughout the process, and when you have the final one, you can publish it, but you can publish at any point and see what you need. Does it make sense? Does it sound easy? Does it sound you can do that? With our help, of course, we'll be happy to. Curation is actually easy. I was showing, last week I was in Chile and was showing to a bunch of librarians who work in the so-called Data Observatory initiative. And they liked it a lot because there are actually no curation tools at all that would deal with network data. You have OpenRefine that will work with CSV files, but but this actually has the additional the additional advantage of doing the network merge. So eventually it will get there. I don't know why it takes that long. It shouldn't.
Probably because you're in a Zoom call too.
I know. That always happens. I've had a lot of stuff open, so that maybe. Okay, so it's published, half curated, then you can do the same things. You can, add a few stuff that you may want. You can add a KML or just my maps if it's relevant to you. Initially, we had like crowdsourcing components so that we would allow people to add and manage information about themselves, but then we decided that we would do it on the site using a software called Lime Survey, which is actually a very good system, similar to Qualtrics for surveys, but open source. Okay, so there are quite a few things. If you made a mistake, you can re-upload your file. You can add describe survey. This is a demo. Something that you may find useful later on, because once you open it, you will see that. Hope I haven't overloaded the system. Because it has a bunch of fairly heavy-duty SuAVE applications open. And my, the fan is running, so it's doing something apparently.
Yeah, and so another tip, I don't know if we talked about this in the curator. I actually don't like to look at the publications through the curator. I like to look at it on the SuAVE that was already published because it's faster.
Okay, all right. So now it's published. We see that for any of these people, we can get their publications indeed. Come on. Just keep spinning the fan. So apparently it's not even on the network. It's something on my machine that is running. We should start closing some applications. In the meantime, do you have questions? Does it look? Oh, there were some things in the chat, right?
Oh, I'm mostly just making comments and other things.
Oh, okay.
Nothing, no questions. Don't worry, I got that.
Okay.
We do have a question for them though. We didn't mention this before. So in the network view, we don't have nodes of people who never publish with someone else because we thought it'd be too messy to also include those. Is that something that bothers like other AccelNets? Do you want to see those people, the authors with no collaborators? Because that does happen sometimes if you do go by thematic scope and other.
Yeah, we're also, we're trying to experiment with the size of those connectors because the weight is now dependent on how many papers they have written together. And it may be that when zoomed out, you will not see a lot of those connections. So we're still, so see, at this view, it kind of feels that there aren't that many connections, but in reality, if you zoom in, you will see a lot of them. It's just that most of them indicate a single paper. So if you look at keywords, should be actually able to see how many papers. So these two people have 91 co-authored publications. This is a shorter link. I mean, less wide, it has 17. This is a big one, 224 co-authored publications between these two folks. So this is where we still do development.
Yeah, I also want to specify this is not only peer-reviewed journal publications. There are also some conference abstracts, I think, are papers in there, and reports. I don't know if you mentioned that when you mentioned OpenAlex. It has a lot.
Right.
I have a very basic question regarding OpenAlex. Where do I find the index of an author? I just opened OpenAlex for the first time and searched for somebody. I don't see an index.
Do you mean OpenAlex ID for that person?
The ID.
So we are developing a tool that would allow you, when you enter the name of a person, to get all OpenAlex IDs associated with that person. Of course, when you enter somebody like John Smith, you may have lots of IDs that chances are they will be unrelated to the person you're looking for.
Yeah.
So there is some curation here and some selection here involved.
Yep.
But other than that, it's quite simple to write some codes that will, I believe in OpenAlex, there is a search for ID. There is a simple query URL that you can pass to OpenAlex that will give OpenAlex IDs by name. The issue is you may get more than one, and then you need to decide what to do with that.
Jessie said she had to go one by one, and I thought that was a way to do it too. I didn't know there was another way. And do you want to?
I think there were two questions. One was, how do you get the ID of the author? And then Abby had a question of how to get the IDs of multiple authors.
Yeah, because we have over 200 people involved this year, and going one by one is It could be
Yes.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in another project, we have about 700 people. And as I said, we have a tool that is not yet public, but I can show you the output of that tool for those 700 people.
Mhm.
So let's say for this name, we got, this ID and got institution ID. And then we move to the next guy. So actually, this guy, Mark Strickland, has OpenAlex ID from Marshall Space Flight Center and from Arizona State University, and these are two different IDs. See where the problem is? And he also Cancer Council Western Australia, which probably has nothing to do with, well, who knows? That was from a project that, another project that we're involved in. So at this point, it's just a very much a raw output, but we want to put this into an interface that everybody can use.
But if
So just maybe a week, a week from now.
okay.
Christine, you were going to say something.
Yes, I was curious if Anna wanted to wait or know how to get it directly from OpenAlex a slow way.
Well, I found this little button that shows me URL and an ID number. Is that where I get it? I mean, this is the very first time I even open OpenAlex. And I typed in somebody's name and I just don't see an ID anywhere.
Yeah.
It's actually,
yep.
It's up in the URL. That's the way I get them.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
But in the URL, it has AA, and then it has a bunch of numbers, and it's just the A numbers. So disregard that first A.
Yep,
There
I
are
see
also
that.
buried in the CSV if you like download a search of some kind, or even a search for a string of authors.
Yeah. But I mean, since I had to go one by one for each author, I just searched for their name and then I got it from the ID and the URL and put it all in a spreadsheet, which was sad that it was so tedious and took that long. But I am not a programmer. I don't write code.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking of is the scope. You can go by the scope and then will give you the names and the IDs of people.
Yeah. But my scope
like
is
what
big.
Abby said, I think. Yeah. But you can filter by the institution too if you put it into SuAVE. Or technically you have the CSV, you can filter in the CSV too.
So see, this is an example, and I got here directly from the API of OpenAlex. Search a specific field such as author name, and whether you do display name or or author name or display name, it doesn't matter. So when you do that, for example, Carl Sagan, it will give you the ID. That's the OpenAlex ID.
Yep, got that. Okay. Thanks.
And in this case, this is under ID. So here under ID. And then you would also get institution ID. Looks like there are no other no other IDs associated with the name Carl Sagan. Oh no, there is David Sagan, but not Carl. Okay, so that's a way to do that. But our aim is to let you just paste a list of authors from a Excel spreadsheet into a text area, and then it will spit out somewhat curated list of open IDs. If there are any additional information that you can provide, such as affiliation, such as email, then your search would return better results. And that should be out pretty soon.
That would be really helpful because we have it in the NSF format you have to upload. So we do have emails and in some cases affiliation or at least country.
Yeah. And you know, when you have like 33 people, like in Jesse's case, it's tedious but possible. With 700 people, it's tedious and impossible. Right. Okay, well, what else do we want to cover? Yeah, so we covered authoring, we covered, there are lots of details about how you go about formulating thematic scope in the best way, but actually when you get to it, we can work with you to make it fast. Keywords, yeah, so there's some, but I showed you the basics. Basically, you can try to merge people by, find people by similar names or same last name. So, for example, there will be lots of cases when there will be John Smith and J. Smith, right? In that case, you would match duplicated last name and then try to figure out if it is the same person who is referred to with just abbreviated first name or not. Fuzzy match. So we will see how it works for you, and please let us know how it works for you, because then we may want to enhance those types of merge or add more. Shall I show you how easy it is? So it was fairly easy, right, to publish your survey. You get your result back from from Corpus-DB rather, and that's a zip file, and you just upload that zip file to SuAVE.net in this type of operation. And say upload Corpus-DB zip file. That's all you need to do. And in addition, once your data set is uploaded, you can go to settings and figure out what additional views you want to have, whether you want to have additional elements on your map. And you can even have more than one network view published to that, but we'll get that. That's a fairly advanced thing, so we're not going to look at that now. And then each variable has types, and it has some kind of sorting applied by default. This is all can be changed here, but I wouldn't recommend to do that, especially from standard data that comes from OpenAlex. This is what we added as a description. If you want to further curate your file and re-upload it, this is where you can do that. All right. What else? Yeah, so that was actually how you could customize your survey. So if you want to publish elements of a map, that's quite simple. So let's see, you will see that you can just supply a link to Google Maps, which looks in my case like this. You construct it with Google Maps, then simply copy that link to your survey definition, and then it will, you will magically see those additional layers on the map, such as so if I remove those guys, you will see that we just have a map of aquifers. For physics, it may be not as critical at all because you don't have things on the ground, but so you can skip that. What else? Yeah, that was example. We will have this set of links actually maybe copied to the chat, right? But it also shows up in all the previous things that we showed. And maybe now is the time to show you another functionality of how you can create a network from scratch by configuring SuAVE with Lime Survey. That's where we started. That's where we got about a couple dozen entries. And the idea is that you can set up a questionnaire where people will respond to your survey, and the results will immediately go into SuAVE. This is how it is done. CT, do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
You can talk to you know a lot more, but it's not immediately. There is some delay.
Almost. When people publish their pictures, all the pictures have to be converted into image pyramids and uploaded, and that requires a little bit of time.
Oh, you didn't talk about the image upload. If people care about that for their network.
Yeah. Okay.
The other one.
So let's say here I'm responding to a survey that CT set up. So this is the survey online. Welcome such and such. If I already have an account, if I don't have an account, or I don't have like my presence in the survey, you will be asked to give your name, and then you will get access code. So here we have a series of questions. Do you represent yourself or an institution or a network? And depending on what you select, questions will be somewhat different. So what is the name of the network? What sectors are you currently in? Academia, government. These are my previous selections. And you can also upload a file or change a file that you upload, and you can place yourself on a map. Well, I'm not going to save my edits, but you can have multiple screens with that. Well, tell us about your research and methods you use and whatever. So eventually, projects. Are you willing to work with us? Are you interested in presenting your work in our webinars? And then eventually, when you submit, the record will get added to SuAVE. So some people chose not to provide their images, but basically, CT?
Yeah, and actually it writes to a Google Sheet that is integrated with that SuAVE reads from. And I put the Google Sheet in the chat for those who want to see that.
So where do I have it? Chat. Yes. Please see the Google, the chat here, because there are lots of links here and a lot of good stuff. We actually, this system is used quite widely even by professor at UCSD who have their students submit their homework and projects through Lime survey, so they immediately have kind of a gallery of student projects that they can work with.
Yeah, and if you can get your network to fill this out, you have the network diagram there, as you can see. But it's really difficult. I begged people and only 23 people filled it out of 100 and something people.
Right, so you can see how people are connected to each other based on sectors.
And technically, you can also fill this out for them.
With 33 people, it will fall on Jesse, I'm sure, but with 700 people,
Yeah, in different ways you can make your network. That's what we're trying to say. But obviously. And you can also ask us for a copy of our survey. I think I put a template for that.
So compared to all other software that you may find that deals with network analysis, we're not just network analysis. We have multiple data views, including mugshots, including map view. In that mugshot view, you can sort people by any of the filters that you have on the site. We have direct access to papers. We have designed to support kind of international networks because we use flags to, as symbols for different people. We allow for user-defined keywords. None of the other systems allows that. You can filter on anything or on all of them. And you can have your network view filtered by many of the characteristics. Again, that's not something that other systems such as WOS Viewer or others support. We include curation. We can visualize network evolution, compute network characteristics. Again, not, most of the systems do not support that. And I can spend another several hours talking about what you can do with Jupyter Notebooks, because if you want to convert your data, let's say, into your network data into network X, and which is a standard library for dealing with network data in Python, and do whatever any other analysis you can think of, you can do that. Or you can have some examples of how machine learning has been done on this data, how you can generate other variables and so on. And again, compared to most other systems, you don't have to install anything. It's all web-based.
Ilya, I think we forgot to show them how to save a subset and share that subset view with others.
Oh, yeah, of course. So let's say you are interested in, where was Jesse's file? So who's your boss? What's his name?
Mine?
Yeah.
Lou Dimaro, D-I-M-A-U-R-O. D-I.
Okay. So let's say, well, we can first of all annotate this guy. Say, this is my boss. So that annotation will be kept there. And you can also say, okay, now we want to share this with others. You will, so basically you can share views of the data with all the selections and filters and focused on individual people. It works better when you have faces, of course. So let's say if you go to Ukraine, and say share, then just open a different browser. You can put that link in email wherever you want, and they show that's your subset that you're interested in. Well, eventually it should zero into that. It takes a little bit of time to execute that additional script. I hope I did it correctly. I am just trying to rush through because we're 4 minutes until the official cutoff. So it will get there. Yeah, actually, let me do it this way.
It's okay. They saw it already. I think they get the idea. We can talk about other things, Ilya, if they have any.
Yes,
they
any
want us to
questions so
answer.
far? Any questions that you have? Actually, what we wanted to ask you, we know very well what Jessica is working on, but if Anna and Abby can tell us how we can help in the remaining minutes, you can unmute yourself.
We are with Irina. We are starting to develop our network plots, and so I wanted to see how this analysis is done, so that I can work with my student to produce something similar, or explore something different, like exactly what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just learning at the moment what's possible. We're just starting.
Yeah, everything is possible, especially if you give us feedback about what features you would be interested in. Because we have some idea of what people use, and especially given how we use it. But we certainly welcome more ideas.
Sounds good. Yep.
And for us, I think we're kind of running into a publication issue because not everyone involved in our network publishes at all, if even the work they do, because we also have practitioners who are doing on the ground conservation and other things that aren't directly academic. So trying to figure out how to integrate those people in, and then also how to integrate really broad academic fields when sometimes people aren't putting even bats in the keywords of their publications. Although I think some of the new features we've talked about today will help with that. I just have to sort of poke around and see what happens when I try new things. But especially that trying to find ways of encompassing people who aren't publishing.
Yeah, very good. We are actually moving in that direction as well, because bibliographic data is not the only possible source. Another source is network surveys, where you ask, who are you working with? Basically, list people who are your collaborators, regardless of whether you published together or not. And if we can come up with a canonical form of this file so that we can publish it into the same system.
So I was thinking with Abby's problem, if you can get them to fill out like with any type of survey, you don't have to use Lime survey to connect with SuAVE. You can just upload the CSV, as you can tell. You can get them to do that, and then you get the publications through our Corpus-DB OpenAlex, and just combine that data set.
And
That
I'll
would
have to
work.
look into that.
Yep.
Our extra layer of complexity is that we're based in Texas. Well, I am, and Tiggy Kingston, one of our PIs is. And there are weird additional rules about surveys and what we're allowed to ask in surveys and what data we're allowed to keep for surveys at a state level. It's very irritating.
Can it be at another institution?
Yeah, we might have to, yes, we do, because we have
Yeah.
collaborators in New York and DC as well, and so we'll have to see. It's not for, we can get permission, and we can also, you know, make sure the survey only collects certain data that doesn't fall under those rules, but it's an extra layer of pain in the butt, frankly.
Oh, and Ilya, we're 1 minute past the time. I think you have another meeting or something. No?
Yes, I do. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
If you feel that we should have like office hours rather than rather than us talking, you will be talking about what you're doing. We'll be happy to do that.
I would like that. Yes.
Okay.
I think we might, but it'll probably be a little while before we would need that.
Whenever.
Thank
I
you.
need help with all my big data. All
Okay.
right. Thank you, guys. I'll see you
Thank you
later.
very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.